Chapter 21. The Silence Beneath Llandaff. The dragon stirred long before Maela reached the clearing. Wings shifted against stone. Claws scraped earth. A low, rising growl rolled through the cavern like thunder testing its voice. Even the young ones, usually restless and distracted, stood still, alert. Sarenfe lifted her head. Her gold eyes narrowed toward the dark line of trees. "Something approaches," she murmured. "And it carries the scent of regret, layered with deceit." Daniel's hand dropped to his sword. "The council?" Sarenfe shook her head once, slowly. "No, this is older. And she knows it." She extended one talon, dragging it gently across the earth. The ley lines beneath them trembled. It's her, the one who once tasted power not meant for her hands. Decima stepped forward. She could feel it, too. The shimmer in the air pulling back slightly, like breath held too long. The magic beneath the clearing wasn't rejecting this arrival, but it was watching. Then at last, Maela emerged. Her cloak was torn and soot-streaked, hair clinging to her face in wild strands. Her magic barely pulsed beneath her skin. Dull, controlled, smothered. But Decima knew that look. It was the same expression Maela wore when they were girls in the academy, after she'd led Decima into that trap, after she'd pretended to be kind, only to turn the others against her for being a foster kid. A mistake in the eyes of the bloodlines. Some things didn't fade. The dragons shifted again. One hissed softly. Their instincts were sharp. They remembered betrayal. Maela didn't flinch. She dropped to her knees at the edge of the clearing, arms open. "I came to help," she said quietly. "I know what I've done. I know you have every reason not to trust me." Decima didn't move. Behind her, Daniel stayed close, fingers still near the hilt of his sword. Decima's eyes narrowed. "You could have come back months ago. Why now?" Maela's voice cracked just slightly. "Because the council isn't what I thought. And because he's rising. Elric's. You felt it. The spells are cracking. The old magic's shifting. I was part of it. But I'm done obeying them." "Are you?" Maela looked up, and for a moment her expression shifted. Soft, unsure. "I know you still don't believe me. But before he died, your father, he tried to leave the council. He asked for you." Decima's breath hitched. She hadn't heard her father's name spoken in years. "That's a lie," Daniel said coldly. Maela looked at him. "Is it?" She never saw the body. None of us did. Silence fell again. Even the shimmer held still. Sarenfe's voice sliced the moment. "She speaks wrapped in truth. But her center is hollow." Decima stepped forward. "If you lie to me again, I'll know. And I won't need to strike." She let her power rise. The shimmer responded, crackling at her fingertips. "The child already sees you," she added. "So don't mistake mercy for blindness." Maela gave a single nod. But Decima saw it, the way her fingers twitched near her sleeve. A hidden rune, not yet lit. The same kind Decima had burned out of her own skin years ago. The dragons growled again, but they didn't strike. Decima turned away. That night the sanctuary didn't rest. Even the air felt strained. The storm in the distance pulsed with unnatural rhythm. Not thunder, but something older, deeper. Symbols flickered along the ley lines in the hills. Warnings, not yet broken, but soon. Decima stood at the ledge, one hand on her belly. The child stirred, not in distress, but in attention. "It's listening," she whispered. Daniel joined her. "Do you believe her?" "I believe she wants something. That's enough." Far from the sanctuary's light, Maela crouched near the old ward line, alone, awake. Beneath her cloak, the glyph etched in Elric's flame throbbed faintly, a pact sealed in desperation, one she had already broken in spirit, but not in action. His voice echoed in her bones. "Do this," he had said, "and the child will carry my mark." She whispered the trigger phrase. The rune warmed. Somewhere deep beneath the stone, something ancient stirred. It opened its eye, and remembered. But Maela wasn't finished. She reached into the satchel hidden beneath her cloak, fingers brushing past crushed herbs and broken glass. Her hand closed around the bone knife. Dragon bone, old, illegal, blood-etched. She'd stolen it from the council's forbidden vault weeks before she left. She dragged the blade across her palm, wincing as the blood welled and fell. Slowly she pressed her hand to the stone, not on the shimmer's path, not where Decima could sense it, but on a forgotten line, one the old witches had buried, one that only a council bloodline could still unlock. The earth trembled softly beneath her. It accepted the offering. The pact had begun. A second glyph began to form, etched in light only she could see. It wasn't a spell of destruction, not yet, but it was a gate, a quiet one, a key that could open the sanctuary from within when the time came. When Aelrix gave the final command, she didn't flinch, didn't cry, but her throat burned as she whispered the second phrase, older than any council language, one of the forgotten tongues. It was done. She stood slowly, pressing a cloth to her bleeding hand. Her pulse raced, not from guilt but from fear. She hadn't lied when she said the council had changed. She had seen something that broke her. But Aelrix had shown her something else. A vision of what came next, of power that could not be stopped. And Decima? Decima was the only obstacle left. Aelin, the child, was more than a soulbound mark, more than prophecy. She was a vessel. And Maela had just opened the first gate. Maela didn't move for a long time. The blood on her palm had already dried, but the glyph still pulsed faintly, like a second heartbeat tethered to something far beneath the world. She could feel it now, a slow stirring in the dark. Not Aelrix's voice, not exactly. Something older, watching her through the seal she'd broken. For the first time in days, she felt unsure. Aelin was stirring. The child wasn't just reacting. It was resisting, and somewhere high above her, on the ledge where the sanctuary touched sky, Maela felt Decima's magic shift like a blade drawn halfway from its sheath. Wind coiled around the ward line. The storm hadn't broken, but something had. The storm had not broken yet, but the wind carried warnings. Decima stood at the highest ledge of the sanctuary, watching dark clouds churn far across the valley. But it wasn't just weather. She could feel it in the ley lines, like something tightening, beneath the skin of the world. "They're drawing on old magic," she said. "Something heavy, something sharp." Daniel placed his hand lightly on her shoulder. "You think the council's behind it?" She shook her head. "No, this feels colder, older." He glanced down at her abdomen. "How is it?" She smiled faintly. Still strong, still glowing. The child stirred again, awake more often now. Not kicking, not fussing, just aware, like it knew the world was watching, like it was watching back. Maela crouched beneath a stone outcrop not far from the eastern wards. Her fingers traced the rune beneath her cloak, a coiled glyph etched in Aelrix's fire. She could feel the power within it, just enough to cut through the edge of a soul bond, just enough to weaken a child not yet born. She didn't know what would happen after that. She only knew what Aelrix had promised. "Do this and the child becomes mine." She whispered a trigger phrase. The rune flickered. For a moment nothing happened. Then the wind stilled, completely. The birds in the trees went silent. The shimmer above the eastern wards, normally soft, barely visible, tightened like a wound pulled shut. A hum rose through the stones beneath Maela's boots, vibrating up through her knees. Old magic, angry magic. Her fingers trembled as she lowered her hand. She hadn't cast a full spell, not yet. But the glyph had tasted her intent, and that was enough to stir the edges of what lay buried beneath the child's soul. In the sanctuary above, Decima flinched, her hand pressed hard against her abdomen as the glow beneath her. Skin pulsed, not gently this time, but in warning. She gritted her teeth. "Something's wrong." Daniel moved instantly, steadying her with both hands. "What is it? The baby?" She nodded. The bond, it shifted. It was pierced. Daniel's gaze darkened. Maela. But Decima was already reaching through the ley lines, her senses scattering across the sanctuary's boundary. The shimmer resisted at first, like a locked gate. But her magic forced it open. Threads of fire and starlight snaked through her vision. Then she saw it. Maela, kneeling at the base of the eastern line, her palm still glowing. "I see her," Decima whispered. "And she's made her choice." A roar broke across the valley. Not close, not near, but distant, echoing. A dragon's cry of fury that rattled the bones of the land. Serenfe's voice followed it, spoken within the minds of all who shared the sanctuary's bond. "The line has been touched." The heart flinches. Something ancient recoils. Decima sank to her knees, breathing hard, sweat breaking across her brow. Daniel crouched beside her. "What do you need?" She didn't answer immediately. The mark on her palm, the thread given by the guardian monk, was glowing again. Brighter than before. "I think someone else remembers," she said softly. "Someone older than me, older than this place." She looked up at Daniel. Tell Saren Faye to ready the flight. If Maela's triggered what I think she has, we may not have a ward left by morning. Daniel didn't hesitate. He turned and sprinted toward the lower ledge, where the dragon still kept watch over the outer boundary. Above, the clouds churned faster now, as if stirred by whatever had just been awakened. The sky itself seemed to throb in rhythm with the tension in Decima's chest. She steadied herself on the rock, closing her eyes. The ley lines no longer moved in smooth arcs. They were stuttering, glitching, like threads trying to rewrite themselves mid-pattern. The line has been breached. The child is being watched. The veil is thinning. The voices weren't her own. They weren't even fully words, just fragments of memory embedded in the land, echoes left behind by witches long dead. A sharp snap of magic cracked through the air from the east. Decima jerked her head toward it, just in time to see a section of the Shimmer warp and fracture. It didn't collapse entirely, but it bowed, like glass under pressure. A second dragon cry rang out, closer this time. Decima rose slowly to her feet, her strength coming back in jolts. The child within her pulsed again, not in fear, but in warning. Something was coming, and it remembered her name,